Welcome back to Let's Play Mega Man, and we have two robot masters left, Iceman and Fireman. And obviously Iceman is gonna be weak to Fireman's weapon, so we'll now just go to Fireman, beat him and get his weapon. And what am I doing? What? No, actually I'm still going in order of weakness. Fireman is weak to Iceman's weapon, because I guess fire melts the ice and it turns into water, which extinguishes the fire. But I still think Iceman should be weak to Fireman, because Iceman is ice and ice is weak to fire, because I've played Pokemon among other RPGs where it actually goes both ways. Ice is weak to fire and fire is weak to ice, and Agi is weak to Bufu. But instead Iceman is weak to Elecman's weapon, which is the Thunder Beam, I think. I don't know. The game itself doesn't really tell you the name of the weapon, it just tells you the first letter of the Robot Master's name. So we're gonna beat Iceman using E! But first Iceman's level, which of course is the obligatory ice level!
Welcome in the Himalaya!
Iceman comes with ice level, and ice level of course comes with ice physics. Multiply that by Mega Man's normal slipperiness and you can probably slide backwards through like half the level. And this is also the other level with the phasing blocks. We saw them in Elecman's level where they were pretty easy, and these ones are not very easy. In terms of their pattern, it's probably the most difficult phasing block section in the entire Mega Man series. However, there's no real penalty for failing it. Well, there's an enemy at the bottom, but you can kill him with a rolling cutter. But in other Mega Man games, the pattern of the blocks itself are easier, but failing it will sometimes lead you into a bottomless pit or a bed of spikes. But yeah, I've heard stories of people who were stuck in this particular room for a while. Luckily you can skip it with the magnet beam. The magnet beam I haven't really explained yet, and I will show it off in the next level, but it's pretty much platform creation beam, and you can create your own platforms to get up here, and also to skip this specific section right here. These are moving platforms above bottomless pit to get across. Pretty standard for a platformer. They also shoot at you, and there are other things flying at you. You can get knocked back from that and fall into the pit, which it adds difficulty. It's also pretty standard for a platformer, but these platforms don't have a specific pattern. They fly around randomly. I'm gonna repeat that, randomly, which is horrible, which is bad, which is bad game, in the corner. Because they're random, it can very easily happen that the platforms don't feel like coming near each other or allowing you to safely jump across because they're random. I'm trying to stretch how bad that is, but I don't have enough anger in me right now, but this should give me enough anger. It's the big jumping enemy! Okay, there are a few things I need to explain within the next minute, so speed information. Right now, this is the Elect Beam. It's very powerful. It has a very wide range of attack. It goes up and down and forward, and it's awesome. It's the best weapon in the game. Next up, you already know that this is the boss hallway. Mega Man 1 is the only game where the boss hallways are 1, longer than one screen, and 2, it actually has enemies in them. So you can lose health, or if you're lucky, they can drop random items so you can gain health. And now we are about to face Iceman. Iceman, similar to Elecman, can kill you in 3 hits, but if you have his weakness, you can kill him in 3 hits. However, he's a lot easier to face than Elecman because he always follows a very specific and predictable pattern, and that pattern and his attacks are just a lot easier to avoid. Also, the weakness you're using is a lot easier to hit him with than the rolling cutter on Elecman. Now, can I finally talk about the story of this game? Yes! Finally! It only took me 2.5 parts, but I can talk about the story. Here we go, Mega Man's origin story. Sugar, spice, and everything that's the Powerpuff Girls. The real story. Dr. Thomas Light, an inventor who invents robots because he's an inventor, has a partner called Dr. Albert Wily. Wily is tired of Dr. Light's shit. This is all power-phrased, by the way. He's tired of the fact that everyone thinks that Dr. Light is just too goddamn awesome. So he goes to the 6 of Dr. Light's creations that he helped build and reprograms them to be evil and take over the world for him. When Dr. Light finds out, he takes his household robot by the name of Rock and reprograms him to be a da-da-na-na super fighting robot. Da-da-na-na. And thus Rockman / Mega Man was born. As explained in the last part, Mega Man also has a sister by the name of Roll, who is a pun on rock and roll. So yeah, it only took me how many parts to mention that there is a main bad guy and who this main bad guy is and why we're fighting these 6 robots. Let's just move on to something completely different. Look at this, we can equip the ice beam and, wait for it, freeze fire! That hit me right in the organ that produces logic. Oh yeah, look at my ammo bar. I completely forgot to mention that Mega Man 1 and a lot of the 8-bit Mega Man games has a really bad problem of frame rate issues and slowdown. This is the magnet beam, by the way. It makes platforms. What I actually didn't find out until after this playthrough is that you can hold the button down longer to make a larger platform, which I guess could have been useful on a couple of occasions, but the platform it creates by just tapping the button is large enough for me to, well, what I need. Just to repeat a few things, the magnet beam can be used to skip platforming sections, for example that fucking random platform that shoots at you in Iceman's level. And as we're going to find out in the next part when we're going to the Dr. Wily stages, and did I mention there's a bad guy called Dr. Wily in this game, by the way. There is a room in the first Wily level that you need the magnet beam for. If you don't have the magnet beam you can't go anywhere, so you're gonna have to go back to Eggman's level. Because by then you find out that you need the magnet beam to beat the game. It is required. You won't know that if you get to that room and you find out you can't go anywhere because you never picked up the magnet beam, so you don't even know you need it because you don't know what it does. And you can very easily miss it if you don't beat Gutsman before going to Eggman and don't have the super arm and don't ever feel like going back to get that weapon because you don't know it's important, but it is. That's a bad game. Get back into that corner right now. We love you. We prefer all of your sequels, but we love you. But you have problems. The Thunder Beam is not one of them. The Thunder Beam is awesome. I love the Thunder Beam. It goes up and down, and I already told you this, but I feel like saying it again while the Elect Beam is actually on screen. I keep going back and forward between Elect Beam and Thunder Beam. It's strong, has a large attack radius, and we are about to fight Fireman. And what is this? No big jumping enemy in front of the boss room? It's beautiful. Anyway, Fireman is still on the harder half of the Robot Masters, but he's not as difficult as Elecman and Iceman because he doesn't kill you in 3 hits. However, instead of hitting hard, he hits fast. He dishes out a lot of attacks really fast, one after another. He shoots 2 fire beams really quick while also spawning fire underneath your feet. So trust me, you're going to get hit. But with or without his weakness, this boss fight is pretty much a war effusion. If you just keep wailing on him, he'll just die before you do. If you do this without his weakness, you have to stay really close to him and keep mashing the shit out of that shoot button. Because then he'll also go down before you do. You don't even have to worry about avoiding his attacks, and you won't be limited by the fact that you can only have 3 pellets on screen at the same time. But now we defeated Fireman, the last of the 6 Robot Masters, so that means that next part we can go after Dr. Wily himself. See you then.